Afternoon. I'm here again, Apostle T. I'm going to be coming out of Jeremiah chapter number 12, verses. So Jeremiah is a very well-known prophet, but he's not the most well-known. He's got a book in the Bible, but it's not the most well-read of all the other prophets. People know Isaiah, people know Elijah, Elisha. They know those prophets, but Jeremiah is powerful. And one of the things that I think that detracts from Jeremiah and who he really is the moniker, the weeping prophet. You talk about the weeping prophet, you kind of see somebody who is soft, somebody who's timid, somebody who's overly emotional. They just can't handle it. And as you see the weeping prophet, you see somebody who God has to basically cradle and just help move along. But that's not Jeremiah. Jeremiah has had lots of things that have happened to him that would have sunk the ship of many people. Betrayal is not a small thing. Having all your hopes and dreams crushed, not something that's easy to handle. Jeremiah had spoken up for his people. And the very same people that he spoke up to with God are the very people that turned their backs on him. And so he's struggling here, but he's also dealing with God. And, listen, I can tell you right now, there's lots of hard things in your life to understand that will just baffle and perplex you, but nothing like God. Nothing like serving God will perplex you more, because his ways are not like our ways and his thoughts are not like our thoughts. And Jeremiah is now looking at the world, and is contrasting what he thinks and what he sees as holiness and righteousness and the right thing in comparison to what he's seeing in the world. And he has some questions for God. He's got some things that have happened to him that make him think that he's being forsaken by God. He's not leaving God, but he feels like he doesn't know where God is, where he's positioned with God and where God is with him. Are they still synchronized? Are they still together? Is God mad at him? He doesn't understand what's really going on. So he starts out by saying, "Righteous are you, O Lord. When I plead with you, let me talk with you about your judgments. Why does the way of the wicked prosper? Why are those happy who deal so treacherously?" Then he says this. He says, "You have planted them. Yes, they have taken root. They grow. Yes, they bear fruit. You are near in their mouth, but far from their mind. But you, O Lord, know me. You have seen me. You have tested my heart toward you, pulled them out like sheep for the slaughter, and prepared them for the day of slaughter." And then God begins to answer her. But Jeremiah continues. He says, "How long will the land mourn, and the herbs of every field wither? The beasts and the birds are consumed for the wickedness of those who dwell there, because they say, he will not see our final end." And then God answers, "If you have run with the footmen and they have wearied you, then how can you contend with the horses?" Now, when you look at this, Jeremiah wants to have a dialogue with God. He looks around and he begins to compare the things that are going on in his life with the evil people around him, and he is disturbed. He starts out by saying, "God, all your judgments are good. All your judgments are righteous." He knows God can't make a mistake. He's fully aware that God is right and righteous and that what God does is good, but he can't reconcile that reality with the facts that he sees, right? The reality is that God is right, but it doesn't look right, because the facts are these people seem to be dwelling so much better than those who are righteous. When he's going through the land, he's seeing injustice, but those people who are doing the injustice seem to just blow up. They seem to just prosper and they have money and they have happiness and they have joy. They have children, they're eating to the full, and somehow what they touch is like Midas. It just turns to gold. So he says to God, "I want to talk to you about some of your recent decisions." Jeremiah wants to ask God a question, but he starts out by saying, "I'm submitting to your righteousness. I recognize who I am. I don't know everything, but I've got to ask you, how come the righteous seem to prosper? How is it possible?" And now I'm asking you, God, how is it possible that those that deal so treacherously seem to be so happy? How many people are in that same position where you begin to look at the world and you wonder, what is going on. I mean, people who are really seriously striving to serve God, and they're just coming and they're saying, why God? Why am I stuck in this car that barely gets around, that always is breaking down and is always it's just draining my money. But those that don't even care about you, they have no thought about you whatsoever. Everywhere I look, they're just taking cruises. They are getting a new car. They're getting a new house. And I mean, I'm pulling over every 5 minutes to put oil in mine, but yet they're pulling over to new car lots looking for new cars, upgrades. How come I'm not going anywhere in my job? How's it possible that my business is not flourishing? Why am I not getting ahead while everybody around me that is not even thinking about you, that does not worship you, that openly professes not to believe in you, or even those that say they do, but are living a life that is completely contrary to anything that they have confessed or professed? They're getting the bonuses. They're getting the overtime. They're getting the raises. They're getting the promotions. They're getting the recognition. The awards are going to them, while I'm totally overlooked, while I'm totally underpaid, unappreciated, and undervalued everywhere I am. How is that possible? Well, why am I having all the trouble and they're just having the sweetest sleep ever? Why am I just constantly dreaming? And good life is a fantasy for me, but it's a way of life for them and their children, and their children and even their forefathers and their ancestors had better lives. How is it possible that this is my life? And yet I'm called a child of God. And that's a hard question that has perplexed the mind of people in and out of the church. Why is it possible? How is it possible that the good actually seem to suffer more than the unrighteous? Why does it always seem like the good guy finishes last? And then Jeremiah comes back and he says something even deeper, something that he has to, I believe that God squeezes us sometimes to get truth out of us. I think that God allows situations, circumstances to get so hard where we have no other choice but to be honest, where it cracks the veneer of false praise. It cracks the veneer of false worship. All the things that we're saying, but our hearts are not there. He did it with Job. As Job is just scratching himself with these broken pot shards, just scratching himself because he's itching from the boils and all the things that he's going through. Job finally gets up there and says, if God was here right now, I would fill my mouth with arguments. I believe that God allows circumstances to come so heavy and so hard and so hot sometimes in our lives to get us to the point where we are willing to tell the truth, where we're really willing to come to God in real truth, right? In the spirit of true confession. God, this is how I really feel. I'm not coming to worship you and saying things that I think you want to hear. I'm actually telling you, God, how I honestly feel. If I'm broken, I need to tell you I'm broken. That's how I get fixed. If I'm sick, I need to tell you I'm sick. That's how I get healed. So God squeezes us sometimes to get honesty out of us. We sometimes think that he's squeezing us to break us, that he's squeezing us to harm us, that somehow he's angry with us and this is some type of punishment. But God is saying you wouldn't ever come and be honest with me had I not allowed the pressure to get to this point. Jeremiah comes and says, I got to admit it, you plant them. And they've taken root and they grow and they bear fruit. That's probably the most difficult thing that he has to deal with because he understands the sovereignty of God. Before you get to trouble, it's understanding God that opens the door to all these perplexing issues because you realize God is the ultimate decider. You realize that nothing can happen unless God allows it to happen. So as Jeremiah is sitting there looking, he's saying, I'm watching the wicked prosper, but I know they could not prosper at all unless you allowed it. In other words, Jeremiah is saying it's because of you that they're prospering like this. It's because of you that they're getting away with it. You are the ultimate decider. You decide life and death. You could destroy them. You could stop them. You have angels at the ready that could turn this place upside down. And so if you allow it, ultimately, it all comes down to you. And listen, that's not an accusation that God somehow flees from. He is the ultimate decider. He is the one who makes all things work together for good, but yet he allows the things that look horrible to somehow be in our picture, that he's going to work together for our good. He did. I mean, listen, when it happens, you can blame whoever you want to blame, but in the end, it's God. It comes down to God. And that was the most perplexing thing for Jeremiah. As he's looking at this and he's saying, God, I know you only to do good. I only know you to be righteous. I don't know how this could work. How can they bear fruit? How can they ultimately get a blessing? It looks like a blessing that's coming from you. Are you blessing the wicked? There's no way they could ever get this, because all things come of thee, O Lord. And since you are the ultimate decider, that means it actually comes from you. It appeared that God was blessing them. It appeared that God was protecting them from his wrath while allowing his servants, his faithful servants, to languish in peril, to live a life of fear, to just be in a place of abject poverty, to have no justice, to be treated any kind of way. And as you look at the world around you, you look at things that are happening all over the world. And I was just watching a crisis that was happening with Christians in Nigeria, watching crisis that was happening in many, many places in Africa, in Asia, just looking at Christians in Pakistan and some of the persecution that was going on, even in India and some places in Indonesia. It's just amazing as we look at this, but we see in the backdrop, we see huge buildings, we see skyscrapers, we see brand new technology, we see all these great things, and we see these people that are God's people, somehow getting the short end of the stick, so it seems, and God is allowing them to flourish while they eat trash. God is allowing them to flourish. I mean, I was watching, in India and also in Pakistan, these men who had to clean the sewers, and because they were Christians, that was a job that only they could do. And they did it without brooms, without gloves, without boots. They were in raw sewage. And it was just absolutely disgusting. And you look at this and you say, well, God, you have all this power. You are the ultimate power. Why are you allowing your people to suffer? Why are you allowing them to be run roughshod over? How in the world can they be treated like doormats? And they serve the Most High God. And on top of that, he says, you're near them in their mouths, but far from their minds. These are fake professors. You got people over here that are just faking the funk, and they're getting blessed left and right. And I know because you know everything. I know you're not fooled. How's it possible that you could be duped? I don't believe that you're duped by God. I know you know. There's no way you could be fooled by their fake profession. You could see through them like they were Scotch tape. So since I know that what they're saying is in their mouths only, but it's not in their hearts. These people, the God says, they worship me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Well, then why are you blessing them? I mean, if you know that they're fake, if you know they're fugazi, if these are cubic zirconiums from way back, if you know that, then why aren't you destroying them? Why aren't you taking their wealth and shifting it? Why aren't you allowing me to live in that house and them to live in the little shack that I'm living in? God, how is it possible that my bank account could be here and theirs could be here, and they talk the biggest trash about, oh, how I love Jesus, only when things are working well for them and you let it go? Jeremiah's struggling. And he's got the people he's got in mind are the people who've been persecuting him. Right? He's got these people in mind who have this outward profession of religion, but they didn't care about God at all, nor the things of God. He says, but God, but you know me. You know me. You tested me. You tested my heart toward you. I don't even know why you blessed them without a test. You didn't put them through anything, but you know me. You know, when I contrast my life with theirs, you know my heart. You know that I've been tested. Why in the world am I suffering? I mean, listen, there's Christians in Bangladesh, there's Christians, in Sudan, there's Christians that are suffering here. Great. I mean, but listen, when it comes down to it, Jeremiah's like, I'm talking about me. I don't know what those Christians are doing. I assume they're doing great works. I assume they're doing good things for you, but I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about the life that you and I talk all the time. You and I are like this. I thought we were closer than this. And when I look at my life and things that I'm asking you for, Somehow I'm not getting them. The things that I asked you to spare me from, somehow you don't hear my prayer. And, I'm not mad at you. I'm just confused by the decisions that you're making. I'm not angry with you. I'm just perplexed by the sense of judgment towards me and towards the people that are like me who are faithful to you. Jeremiah, I don't think is lifted up. I think that he's making a plea for himself, seeing that, like, you see the persecution and I put up with it. You see that you told me what to say and I went and said it. And they rejected you, but they also rejected me. This wasn't just something spiritual. They kicked me out. They put boot to pants. That's what they did. They didn't just tell me kick rocks. They threw rocks at me. You know the things that have happened to me. You know the disrespect and the things that they have said about you. It made me look like a fool. And I'm just wondering, is this what ministry is? Is this what it's all about? Did you send me out here to be a punching bag? Did you send me out here to look like a fool? Is it all about me constantly being embarrassed? But while you know my heart, God, I'm constantly challenged. Every time I turn around, everywhere I look, my whole life is just a challenge. From the time that I met you up until this very day, it has been nothing but a challenge. And there are many people that struggle with that look at their lives and look back and say, from the time that I came into Jesus, from the time that I was in Christ, it's just been one mountain after mountain, stream after stream, river after river to cross, the oceans to have to, forge. How in the world is it possible that this is the good life? How is it possible that this is the life that is the light of light? This seems like nothing but darkness. This seems like a constant cavalcade of suffering, threats, and violence. So I'm going to keep it real with you. That's what Jeremiah really is. He's at a spot now where he said, listen, I'm just going to keep it real with you. I'm not pulling any punches because listen, if you're going to kill me, kill me. I'm going to serve you straight up. I just need to know you. I don't understand you. And listen, this is not about whether you're God. This is about trying to understand the God that he's serving. Listen, we need to the Bible says, in all you're getting, get understanding. When you begin to look at these scriptures, you see that God does not turn back anybody that has had a question for him. Listen, God is not throwing any man lack wisdom. The Bible says, let him ask of God, who gives it to you liberally and upbraid it not. He does not in any way embarrass you for you recognizing your ignorance concerning this sovereign Lord, whose ways are not like our ways and whose thoughts are not like our thoughts. You can't understand God unless God reveals himself to you. So God is showing us through Jeremiah, this is how you get understanding. I'm going to do things that are going to blow your mind. I'm going to bless some people that you don't think should be blessed, but you do know. Let's start from here. I am sovereign. You do know, start from here. I'm righteous. Let's start here that my decisions are right and good. That's where you have to start. Jeremiah started right there, but he says, I have a request. I want to know what you think about what I'm thinking. I don't know what you're thinking, but I know what I'm thinking, and I need you to tell me whether my thinking is right. This is how I'm feeling. I may not be feeling right, but I feel like I'm feeling right. So God, I'm going to measure my feeling up against your word. I'm going to measure my emotional thoughts up against the thoughts that you give me. I'm going to throw it at you, and whatever you throw back at me, I'm going to receive. But what I want you to do, because I think this is fair, in my thinking, I want to tell you what I think is fair. And there's nothing wrong with that, because God, if he's God, is going to be able to direct you. The Bible says the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. If God is able to order your life, he's able to order your moments. If God is able to redirect your whole world, he's able to redirect your thinking. And so Jeremiah has to offer his thinking in order for that thinking to be redirected, because that's a relationship. That's friendship. It's about sharing your thoughts. Right or wrong, Jeremiah said, this is what I think is right. He says, I want you to pull them out like sheep for the slaughter and prepare them for the day of slaughter. I feel like that's right. He said, look, God, here's what you do. Kill them. Just get rid of them. They're mocking you. Listen, they don't deserve to live. As I'm looking at all the things that are out there, as we look at the world out there, there's some people we look at and say, God, they just need to die. There's some people that just need to be destroyed. What, God, why are you letting that go on? I know that you're not going to allow them to get away with that and doing that to that lady. They can't just go into a church and treat the church like that. That was a good Christian man, and they just shot him. God, get them, destroy them, get rid of them. As we are watching things all around us, we get to this very same point where death is the only deliverance we can see. That somehow destruction, it literally, temporally, maybe not eternally. I'm not saying send them to hell. I'm saying get them out of here. They don't deserve to be here. They don't need to be in the land of the living. The crime that they've committed, in my view, is enough for them to be destroyed. And on top of that, I'm defending you. They're mocking you. I want your will and your righteousness to be done. I don't want people to think you're soft. I don't want people thinking that you just let things slide, that maybe your righteousness is not there. I don't like the way they're thinking about you. So I want you to bring judgment upon them. Let them have their day of peril. Yet I'm watching them stay in power. God, he prays here that the wicked would now be in his place. Listen, let them know the abuse that I know. Let them know the fear that I know. Let them know the animalistic terror that I've been experiencing. I've been set apart. Yeah, I'm holy. I've been set apart for abuse. I've been set apart for lack. I've been set apart to be talked about. I've been set apart to be last. I mean, listen, let them know what it's like to be like sheep, just led to the slaughter. Let them know what it's like to be embarrassed. Let them know what it's like to feel like a second-class citizen. God, let them know what it's like not to have it till next month. Let them know what it's like to go from paycheck to paycheck. Let them know what it's like not to have enough food. God, I'm tired of being the only one. And I'm saying, I think it's time for the changing of the hands. I think it's time for the switch to actually happen. So I'm asking you now to exchange my place with them. All of us, I'm speaking for all the righteous. So let them experience this base terror that I go through, that I'm experiencing right now. That's what I want. Vindicate me. Jeremiah is tired of looking like an idiot. He's tired of looking like a fool to people. God has sent him out on a mission, and he doesn't realize that part of his mission is just that. You're going to look like a fool to these people. Part of the mission he doesn't understand is you're going to be laughed at. That's actually a part of the mission. God tells Jeremiah, I'm going to send you out. I'm going to send you to princes and kings and potentates. You're going to talk to them. You're going to give them my message, but they're not going to hear you. And Jeremiah must have forgotten that. As he looks out and he goes out toward his people at Anathoth, I'm sure he's thinking, I'm a homeboy. I'm from here. They're not going to call me a fool. They know my people. They know where we're from. They know I'm a stable guy. They're not going to dare say that I am stupid. They're not going to say I'm coming from the devil. They'll never call me treasonous. They'll never call me a terrorist. They'll never say I'm a hate monger. I'll never get that title. And then all of a sudden, Jeremiah goes out and he's saying, the message never works. Everywhere, the message never works. I didn't think you were sending me out on a mission where it was going to never work. I have a definition of success. I come into this with my own view of what it working out is supposed to be. And this never works out. And I never get success. And I'm not blowing up doing this. And I'm not getting famous here. God, what is this all about? See, Jeremiah can lose sight as we can lose sight of what it's all about. It was never about you being somebody who's going to draw anybody, because no man comes to the Father unless he's first drawn by God. God is the drawer. So the reality is you don't have drawing power. You don't have it, nor do you lack it, because it's not in your wheelhouse. It's not what God has called us to do. So he's not called us to be famous. He's not called us to some of the things that we look at and say, this is success. By this year, I should have 200 people. And by in year 5, I'm expecting to triple that. So I should be at 600. So all those markers that we put up for success by the age of 50, I should be here. By 62, I should be here. And I expect to be in a wonderful place of retirement with $1.5 million at least in the bank, and this amount in stocks, and these are the IRAs. All those things that we kind of think about are things that God is saying, those are never the things that I told you were going to have. I never said that you were going to be vindicated by somebody listening to you. The reality is a messenger is responsible for bringing the message correctly. That's the only job a messenger has. You have no power to make anybody change. You have no power to make anybody believe. You have no power to make anybody move in another direction. And Jeremiah is watching nobody listen. And he's seeing the same ministry of Noah. I mean, the same ministry. Nobody listened. And God was like, but that was the job, to minister it, to give the message. I will draw or not. That's my role. So this can't be done right now. So Jeremiah's looking around. He says, the whole world is being affected by these decisions, God. He says, listen, how long is the land going to mourn? Like, I mean, allowing man to continue in his way that he's doing right now is affecting the whole land. The whole world is mourning because of man's attitude, because of man's attitude toward nature, because of his attitude toward humanity, because of man's attitude towards space. Man is clogging up everything. Everywhere we go, there's junk. There's junk in the water. There's junk in the sky. There's junk in the trees. There's junk in our food. And guess what? We have space junk. There's junk in the space. We junk up everything. And we sit back and we look and say, God, are you just going to allow man to just go and just kill everything? Is he going to destroy everything? I'll wait. I mean, I know you have an answer. So, I mean, I'll wait. And God comes in and he says, listen, if you run with the footmen and they have wearied you, how then are you going to contend with the horses? I mean, the men on foot, if you have run with them and this is giving you trouble, listen, you don't even understand where you are. Judah at this point has been living in luxury and has been living in peace. And that luxury and peace has decayed it from the inside out. It decayed their service to the Lord, decayed their worship. And instead of holiness, they're marked by wickedness. Instead of righteousness and worship, you see idolatry. And I want you to see today that same message that God is giving Jeremiah, he's giving to America, the church in America for decades. I mean, decades, just open carte blanche. Here's a blank check. It's been given to the churches, and we've lived in a favorable climate where we can declare the gospel to every nation openly, where we can declare the gospel in schools, we can declare the gospel everywhere. And we've had this long, comfortable period of peace and material prosperity. And yet, with all that wealth, yet with all that we have not spread the gospel like we're supposed to. We've not spread the freedom of the gospel. Instead, we spread the gospel of wealth and the gospel of decadence and the gospel of decaying spirituality. So the church has not made the progress in the gospel. And matter of fact, we're struggling even to hold the line in our own country because we've grown lazy. We've grown fat on excess. We've grown self-righteous, and we serve only the people in our little group. We are not looking at the church universal. We don't see ourselves as part of the universal church. We are just our own entity. And even within ourselves, even the American church is splintered into 5,000 pieces. And we've lost the hunger for the salvation of the lost. We just want to get bigger. We want to be a big corporation. The whole goal is to just be just like a huge corporation and an arm of the government. Matter of fact, our goal is to be able to strong arm the government into doing what we wanted to do, which ends politically and not spiritually. And we retreated to our pursuit of nothing but excessive power. And our desire for fame is off the chain. Our desire for acceptance is out of whack. And our desire for more fans as opposed to more souls is just incredible when you look at it. We have so many things that we want to do that outnumbered any useful projects that will move us toward more souls being saved. And the church has become inwardly focused. It is not anymore an evangelistic machine. We're no longer evangelizing. We're pampering ourselves. We're making ourselves more beautiful. We're putting colognes on ourselves. We're having better suits and nicer cars and our better campuses. Those are the things that we're after as the gospel has just languished. And we don't have to experience any of the brutal brutal persecution that you see in these illegal house churches that pop up in Pakistan, or the persecution of being burned alive in your church in the Sudan, or in Nigeria. So there's a warning that comes here that we've been casually running with the footmen, and it has worried us that we've just sit back and have gotten soft, and under the most favorable of circumstances, we're still whining and crying. Under the best circumstances in the world, we refuse to go out and seek the lost. We don't have any guns that are coming up against us. We don't have a nation that is against us. We can go out into the highways and the byways, and we just refuse. If there's just a bit of danger, if there's just a bit of any possible harm to ourselves, we're not going. And what God is telling Jeremiah, he's telling us today, open your eyes. The material wealth of the church is slowly eroding. The favorable conditions that we have enjoyed is slowly but surely leaving. The religious protections that we've experienced in America, if you don't open your eyes and see that we've gotten directly from the government, they're starting to slowly but surely strip those. They're beginning to disappear. And what used to be an open door is now going to be marked by restrictions. And the attitude of the American culture has become slowly but surely more and more hostile to Christianity. God is trying to tell Jeremiah, listen, you're about to start running with the horses. That if this is a problem for you, how in the world are you going to handle what is coming? God was telling Jeremiah, this is just a prelude. This is just a warm-up for what's coming. Listen, I sense that the pleasant leisurely days of running with the footmen are coming to a close in America, if they haven't already. And we're beginning to see the time where we're going to have to compete with the horses. We're entering now that thicket of Jordan that God was telling us about, where the obstacles of the gospel are going to be many, and furthering the gospel is going to be harder, and making progress is going to be bloody. We're about to enter real testing. So how do we answer that question for ourselves? How do we, who are under this banner of Jesus Christ, respond to this hostile territory? Well, the answer is this, and he gave it to Jeremiah. It's powerful, it's profound, it's true. Listen, use what you're going through right now as a challenge. You see that you're living in a challenging time. See that right now you're fighting a tough fight with the footmen. But understand that this challenge is fuel for what is going to come. Your ability to handle and hang in there is going to come because of the strength that you're going to use and get from the moments of challenge right now. You're surviving these. Listen, as you're moaning and groaning and complaining about these moments, you don't realize that you're surviving these moments. They're hard, they're bloody, they're filled with tears, but you're making it through. So the present challenge that you have right now is literally used as preparation for greater challenges to come. I know it'd be easier to hear it's not going to happen. God's got a way out for you. No, I'm telling you right now, there's some spiritual and mental and emotional exertion that's happening involved in the persecution that you're going through right now. That's exactly what Jeremiah was going through. And he was looking and saying, God, when are you going to deliver me from this? Yet God was saying, appreciate the challenges you have right now, because greater challenges are coming. That's part of the role that God has selected this generation for, to be able to handle the challenges to come. Listen, we have a huge amount on our shoulders. Listen, we are bearing the weight of a future. God is now changing the course of a whole river. And that river is flowing in America now. And God says, I've got people right now who are going to go into a brand new course. And I want you to understand that Jeremiah could expect to run with the horses, and so must you. There are greater challenges to come. And God says, listen, guess what? As we look at these greater challenges, God is trying to let us know you can handle this. You have run with the footmen, though you may have sweated profusely, though you may have said, I'm going to quit, you have made it through this running with the footmen. But expect that you're going to run with the horses, and you got to learn how to trust God in this race. The truth of the matter is, you're going to draw on strength from your present challenge in order to prepare you for greater challenges in the future. God has given us great challenges. Look at our world. Look at the cities that the National Guard is being prepared to go into. Look at the proclamations that are happening. Look at the hate speech. Look at the killing that's going on. We've gotten used to school shootings. We've gotten used to mass shootings, and now we're going to see political figures being shot more and more. We're watching it happen in our world. And God is saying, listen, do not look for something better to come. It's going to be tougher. It's going to get worse. But this is a generation that has been raised up and has come into the kingdom for a time such as this. If you thought it was difficult before, how are you going to handle it in Jerusalem? In other words, God is telling them, you're going to live. You're going to make it through this, and I'm going to send you to the big city. You're going to run with the big dogs. I've got some stuff for you. The troubles that you're going through right now are not anything compared to what you're going to have in Jerusalem. Nothing compared to what you're going to have in Babylon. Nothing compared to what you're going to have in Egypt. Listen, if you hear this, God is talking about worldwide ministry. As you hear this, God is now opening up Jeremiah's ministry from this little place in Anathoth to Jerusalem, to the uttermost parts of the world. Jeremiah's going to have to later on spend a night in some stocks. Jeremiah's going to be thrown into a dry well, a cistern. He's going to be in prison in the dungeon by the guard. But God told Jeremiah in this moment of grief, I've got greater dangers ahead for you. And I want you to get that. I know people in the church, we love to hear the trouble's about to end. No, it's about to get hotter. Listen, just look at the temperature outside. Look at what's going on. It's going to get tougher. It's going to get rougher. But you are tough. You are rough. You have been designed for this time. We are specifically designed to be thrown behind enemy lines. This generation of saints is designed, even though it looks weepy, even though Jeremiah is called the weeping prophet, he was designed to be able to handle what would have broken other prophets in another time. He says, listen, if in this land of peace which you dwell, if this gives you trouble, how are you going to run where I'm going to take you? This is the land of your friends. This is the place where you have confidence. This is the place where some people like you at least. But I'm going to send some of you all into desperate places. I'm going to bring you and put you in difficult situations. And so I don't want you to be disturbed by where you are, because these are just the footmen. But you're going to grapple with great things. Listen, there's a turnaround that's going to happen in the generations that are coming after us that you and I will not see. But the war we fight today is about generations that are going to serve the Lord, and that we are going to serve the Lord in one of the most difficult seasons in human history. Get excited about the fact that you were selected to be in one of the most difficult seasons in human history. Just like the children of Israel were primed and ready to see God move when they came out of Egypt like never before. One of the most difficult times in Jewish history, but also one of the most triumphant. We are living in that very same moment. Grasp this moment, the struggles that you have right now, whether it is people, whether it is finances, whether it is physical, whether it is emotional, whatever the situation is, wherever the persecution is coming from, wherever the heat's coming from, just know this, that God has said, listen, you are a survivor. You're going to make it through this. There's some stuff you just have to go through to harden you, to get you ready. There's some punching in the side that looks like somebody's just trying to hit you, but you don't realize that there's a heavyweight bout coming up. There's some big things in your future, and God is preparing you to succeed and not to shrink back. I want you to grasp that revelation. I want you to just hold on to that. And man, if you run with the footmen and they worried you, how can you run with the horses? Because man, the horses are coming. They're not going to outrun you. They're not going to run you down. You're going to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Grasp that revelation, because that's yours today. You running with horses. This is just a warm up. God bless you. Have an awesome rest.